Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Wednesday, the 7th of September, comes to you from London. And a little bit more red on my screen this morning, so we're seeing the major markets. We're seeing a bit of a fall away there. Dollar strength is back, currencies are lower against the dollar, and we're seeing most stock markets lower as well. That's just at a first glance. Here I'm looking at my weekly, my daily, and my 60-minute chart. You can download these desktops from our libraries in Updata, and again, for whatever data service you're running on, remembering that Updata runs on multiple data services. Here I'm running on top of Refinitiv Icon, but you can literally select the data service you want. So you just select from a whole list of different data services, and you can just click these in on the fly. So you could run Bloomberg, Refinitiv Icon, Trayport, and a whole host of other data services. So the choice is yours, and basically these are all the data services that I'm have activated here for my system. So I run multiple data services in, and that's quite useful if you want to compare OTC and other markets. So then I look at my energy screen. Here I've just got my weekly, my daily, and my 60-minute charts, and my medium and short-term view, with a daily, 60-minute, and 1 minute, my very short-term view. Then of course all of the reports and alerts are set up in my system. So these are the alerts that are just coming in this morning. Just got a new one in there for US Nat Gas, a couple of upside targets, downside targets there on the euro. And basically the alerts, you just set up your list. So long term, medium term, and short term, and very short term. And so I've got fewer alerts in my very short term, because I don't want to be getting alerts every few minutes, only for the things that I'm really watching. So here I've just got oil, gas, and power. And then medium term, I have, so short term, I have things like coal, gold, some of the things that I'm watching. And then the big alerts, the big changes on my medium and long term charts are on that original list that I have. So I'm alerted when I get the changes for big things that are happening, and then the short term, and then that translates through to the alerts. So here I get very short term, and all you have to do is just copy those across in the lists, and you will get those alerts. So you can choose to add instruments from whichever service or source you have. So it could be Trayport, could be Bloomberg, could be Icon, doesn't really matter where. Of course, then I look at my gas and power markets in Europe. So every single power market we cover here from data from OTC Global Holdings, and that's included with our professional products and above. So you have all of that data there. And then I go right down to looking at my UK market. So I look at gas and power with all the different contracts. So here we're looking at winter gas. And again, that's all included. And of course, all the reports cover those as well. So when we come to look at the special reports, we've got gas and power for this month with all the target trends and targets. And then, of course, our global reports covering 100 different instruments. And these reports are really your long-term view of the market. So it gives you a really good understanding of what's changing there in the long-term reports. So just taking a look at the markets and what's happening this morning. As I said, we just run through here. So my long-term view, the dollar is bullish. We've been saying all year, this is 2022 is the year of the dollar. We're bullish on all three targets, and the long-term targets, big upside targets there that we've been playing for. This target given back in February when we were at 96 on the dollar index, 113. We're not far from that now, just 2% to go. And on the 60-minute chart, you can see here these are the short-term targets almost being met. You really cannot ignore the targets. And of course, that means that the euro is looking bearish against that stronger dollar. Again, we put out reports in the euro in March saying giving targets to 97 when we're at 111, and we've got targets lower than that, and those are showing up here on the chart. So you can download a system, and straight away you've got this intelligence of what's going on in the markets. Here we see the Japanese yen making a 24-year low against the dollar, and remember that's a dollar high against the yen, so it's a 24-year high. Just activated another target. Looks really bad for the Japanese yen, and again this is a really good lead indicator for the dollar. Sterling sitting at 114.18, so back below that 115 level, so that's really quite key there that we're falling away, and that's really significant that we're just falling below that 115 mark. Of course, new Prime Minister in the UK, but we've got the downside targets, 2 targets to parity there. Cannot ignore those. They've been sitting there, and of course we've had these downside targets kicking in all the time. Sterling against the euro just sitting below the 116 115 level, and again, really quite key there. And if we look at the sort of sideways move there, 114, 121. So that's really the range that we're trading in, and we just got to watch for those levels there. So that's quite key. Taking a look at Bitcoin back below $19,000, it's game over for crypto. We've been saying that. We've got these downside targets: 17,000, 18,000, 17, 11,000, 15,000, and this 15,000 target. So you cannot ignore this. I was a big fan of crypto when we were going up, but now we're going down. I'm not interested. Looking at the S&P 500 index, we were down slightly last night. These downside targets are worrying, of course, and we are just seeing a situation here where we are seeing these lower highs, lower lows. Classic Dow theory, just about to break the weekly cloud, not looking good for markets. The futures this morning are up slightly. We're seeing the S&P E-mini just up slightly there. The VIX volatility sitting in the high 20s, above 30, and the fear index is not so good, so we've got to keep an eye out there. The FTSE future sitting at 7,200, just cannot break that 7,500 level, and of course most equity markets looking pretty grim. The DAX in Germany down another 0.5%, really below the cloud on the weekly. The long term, the medium term, and the short term all bearish, and of course that was covered in our monthly reports. Every month this year we've been saying the DAX is not looking great at all. Other European markets lower. We're seeing Japan was down 0.5%, the Hang Seng down 0.8%. China just actually a little bit up, but again on that weekly chart below the cloud, so not a good environment for equities generally. The Aussie market down 1.4%. And I know my Aussie shares were hit a bit overnight, but not by 1.4% on aggregate. So doing better than the market. That's what you've got to be watching, is that relative performance. We'll look at the energy mix in a minute. We're seeing some of the softs up this morning. Wheat up nearly 4%, so that's really interesting. Just holding that long-term trend there for wheat, a new upside target, so really quite key there. Gold just struggling at this $1,700 mark. Until we break this sideways trend, there's a lot of gold bulls hanging around, but until we break 2,000 on gold, it's just too early to call. If we break 2,000, that long consolidation pattern will be explosive, and we will see gold running higher. Looking at US 10-year yields, they're coming back slightly, sitting at 3.31%, but the targets are there. And again, in our monthly report, we give yield targets for all the major bond markets, and not looking great there at all, so really quite key. And again, just keeping an eye on those tech stocks, not looking great either. Taking a look now at the energy mix, we've got Brent crude is up slightly today, but we do have this, we got a new upside target there, so that's just belying that. But we are short term and medium term bearish now on crude oil below the clouds. US nat gas sitting at 8, back above the $8 mark, so that's quite good, but has been in a short term downtrend this week. We see that that daily candle yesterday, big falls there. Gas markets this morning, we're seeing off 4% on TTF and on NBP. Quite a lot of volatility. 200 is the level on TTF, 400 is the level on NBP. That's what you've got to watch out for. Emissions, not looking great either, just falling away there. Downside target still in this clear downtrend. We were neutral out to clients this morning because we had this upside target. Watch the 1 minute charts if you're trading emissions. That's going to be quite key. Coal still looking very bullish indeed, cracking to new highs there. So that chart looking very good. Our call for the week was bullish for coal. It's really clear, this one. Uranium, watch the uranium chart. I've been buying uranium stocks, and uranium looking really quite strong as well. Obviously lower liquidity, even lower than coal. And then looking at German power, 525 euros at the moment on the cow. That 500 level is really quite critical, and if we break above 650, that would be bullish again. So we're in this consolidation phase for German power. Keep an eye on the targets, watch them on your OTC data. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.